Well, friends, this is part 2 on the Unit 1 Securities and Contract Securities and Exchange Board of India Act, Paper 7, Unit 1, SEBI Act. I have already told you the basic structure. Now I will take you to the important definitions. The one major important definition here is the existing SEBI that has been taken off into this constituted body. That's not much relevant. What is important is the meaning of securities. So, subsection 1 here, 211 of the SEBI Act, the term securities is having the same meaning as defined in section 2 of the SECRA, that is Securities Contract Regulation Act 1956. In fact, any definition that is not found, meaning not found here, will have the same meaning as given either in Securities Contracts Regulation Act or the Depositories Act. This is what normally it says. So, actually now coming to the meaning of securities, investment and securities are the two terms in fact go together. Investment is called, it is to buy property, shares in a company in the hope of making profit. This is what the Oxford Learner's Dictionary says. Then Concise Dictionary of Ramnath Iyer says investment means to employ for some profitable use, convert into some other form of wealth, usually of a more or less permanent nature. And then in connection with money or capital, to give money for some other property, to employ money in the purchase of anything from which interest or profit is expected. Then friends, the most important thing, the meaning of security, where the Concise Law Dictionary of Sri Ramnath Iyer says, securities means, as I already gave a brief description in part 1, this is part 2. Securities means any of the following instruments issued to or to be issued or created or to be created for or for the benefit of a company. What are the securities named thereon? Shares, stocks, bonds, debentures, mortgage deeds, instrument of pawn, pledge or hypothecation, and other instruments, creating or evidencing a charge or lien on assets of the company, and instruments acknowledging loan to or indebtedness of the company and guaranteed by a third party or entered into jointly with third party. This definition was originally quoted in the erstwhile repealed Capital Issues Control Act 1947. Now let us see, as per Article 366 to 26 in brackets of the Constitution of India, securities include stock. Then Section 2L of Forward Contract Regulation Act 1952. Securities means any of the following instruments issued or to be issued or created or to be created by or for the benefit of a company, namely shares, scrips, stocks, bonds, debentures, debenture stock or other marketable securities of a like nature, or in any of an incorporated company or other body corporate. Now comes the definition with reference to Securities Contract Regulation Act under SEBI. Section 2HA of the Securities Contract Regulation Act 1956 says that securities includes shares, scrips, stocks, bonds, debenture stock or other marketable securities of a like nature in or any of incorporated company or other body corporate, derivatives, units or any other instrument issued by any collective investment scheme to the investors in such schemes, government securities, such other instruments as may be declared by the central government to be securities and rights or interest in securities. Now the FEMA, Foreign Exchange Management Act 1999, also defined security as shares, stocks, bonds and debentures, government security as defined in the Public Debt Act 1944. So I have given you several references in this regard to understand what exactly is the meaning of securities in consonance with this Securities Contract Regulation Act. Then friends, in this part 2, now definition part is over. So examination point of view, one important question is also covered. Now we will deal with functions of SEBI. The functions of SEBI are narrated under subsections 1 and 2 to section 11 under chapter 4 of the SEBI Act. Under this provision, SEBI is duty bound to protect the interest of investors in securities and to promote the development of and to regulate the securities market by such measures as it thinks fit. The measures which are supposed to be taken are narrated in subsection 2 to 11, section 11 as making out. That's why read 11:2. Then the functions will come into picture. I just give you as an example some of the functions. One function is regulating the business in stock exchanges and any other securities market. Second one, registering and regulating the working of stockbrokers, sub-brokers, share transfer agents, bankers to an issue, trustees of trust deeds, registrars to an issue, merchant bankers, underwriters, portfolio managers, investment advisors and all such other intermediaries. That means the entire work of the intermediaries is regulated by SEBI functions. Registering and regulating the working of depositories, participants, custodians of securities. Registering and regulating the working of venture capital funds, investment schemes. Promoting and regulating self-regulatory organizations. You have to go through this provision and remember that is the only way. And each one you can expand and give your explanation. That is the way you have to write it in the examination point of view. In the same way, it speaks of prohibiting insider trading in securities. Prohibiting fraudulent and unfair trade practices relating to securities market. In this SEBI regulations on fraudulent unfair trade practice 2003 can be referred to. Regulating substantial acquisition of shares and takeover of companies. Calling for information and records from any persons, including any bank or any authority or board or corporation established or constituted under any central or state act. SEBI has got multidimensional powers in this regard. Calling for information from or furnishing information to other authorities, whether in India or outside India, having functions similar to those of SEBI in the matters relating to the prevention or detection of violation in respect of securities laws, subject to the provisions of other laws for the time being in force in this regard. In the same way, performing such other functions are will be prescribed. So these are all the different functions of SEBI which you have to take out under this particular proviso, section 11, subsection 2, and then you will have to make out, as I told you, please download and then you will get the necessary information. Then friends, we will now go to the powers of SEBI which have been enumerated again under section 11(2)(a), which empowers the functions could be discharged only when powers are there. So the powers are enumerated under 11(2)(a), that it can take measures to undertake inspection of books, registers, records and such things. Then 11(3), SEBI with the same powers of civil court under civil procedure for trying a suit in respect of carrying the functions. Then 11(4) and 5, it empowers SEBI to pass necessary orders in the interest of investors and securities market, like suspension of trading of securities, suspend of any office bearer of stock exchanges, impound and return proceeds or securities and such things. Then 11(b) empowers the SEBI to issue any such direction in the interest of investors for orderly development of securities market and after, of course, making due inquiries. So, friends, under all these things, investigation is necessary with proper procedure, which has been enumerated under section 11C, where there should be audiatum parte rule and proper rules have to be followed, procedure has to be followed for investigation. And under section 11D, the board is empowered to pass cease and desist orders. So, friends, these are all the various issues which we had to take up under the functions and powers. So, another important essay type question: what are the powers and functions of SEBI? With this particular citation, mostly case law is not necessary, but basically you have to go through the provisions and quote clearly. Section 11 is very crucial in this regard. Now I will take you through the last part, part 3. In that, the failures, contraventions and constitution of the tribunal. These things I will take care in my part 3. Thank you.